Most of you who are young like me, we were born in this system. But this is not what can allow Burkina to live. Because in this situation, there are only two cases. Either we accept to fight, or we remain slaves forever, I tell you once. And there are some who are slaves in the head. They can only serve their master. And these people, each time they try to manipulate you, you must advise each other. Because each situation can be exploited by these enemies of the nation to try to discourage you, to demotivate you. So you must advise each other and do not pay attention to certain words, even on certain media. Everyone is not obliged to be a patriot. You are the first patriots. You have decided to defend the country. There is nothing better than that. Those who want to support you, let them support you. Those who want to discourage you through writing, you must close your ears and move forward.
Our internet bill went up?
Looks like you need Verizon Home Internet. No surprise price hikes or hidden fees, because nobody likes surprises. Who are you?
I live here.
Oh.
Alors, il faut qu'on se rappelle quelque chose.
We must remember something. Recently, there was a so-called NGO. It is not even a NGO because a NGO is a non-governmental organization. But they are not non-governmental because they are financed by a federal budget, by a state. This so-called NGO produces reports to say that the FDS and the VDP are carrying out executions. They came in and left here. It is to stain your morale. It is to scare you, to prevent you from being able to fight. No. Besides, we will take this NGO into account because people must understand something. What is happening to us here? It is true that they have manipulated a part of our population in the Sahel. But they did not have this armament. What led to this important armament? It is Libya. Who destroyed Libya? It is this NGO, the same NGO that made these false reports and gave to whoever wanted to create a rebellion for people to intervene and make Gaddafi fall. And the powder is spilled in the Sahel. These millions of lives that were taken in the Sahel, we must take into account this NGO, because it is responsible for these false reports that it made to consolidate this thesis of attacking Libya. They have no moral lessons to give us. Look at the world. Let them defend human rights everywhere in the world before coming here. We have the chance to have similar situations in this world. You are engaged voluntarily. There are countries where we take force, we kill. You leave or you die. Others, even if they want to flee, end up dying. They do not speak of human rights because these people see us as subhumans. They see us as slaves. It's like that in their heads. They have never changed their logic, but it is up to us to show them that we are not slaves and we will never accept this state of affairs. So there is no need to let yourself be overwhelmed by the story they tell, whoever wants to hear it. You have to stay focused on your fight. Stay focused. We know what we are doing. And even now, the commander of BVDP told me that there is a training session on human rights for the benefit of group leaders and their subordinates, which is ongoing. If we make an effort, we know that it is for us. We do not do anything to please anyone. We do it for our country. And you are committed to that. Defend your country. Do not listen to these individuals. They should not affect your morale. In the history of the world, there have been wars. And during the Second World War, people organized themselves to defend themselves, a little bit everywhere. But there was a country that could not defend itself, that had to come and take our ancestors to go and defend them.
Et aujourd'hui, ce même pays veut nous donner des leçons.
And today, this same country wants to teach us, the hospital that laughs at charity.
Non. Vous êtes les descendants
No,
de ces mêmes
you are
ancêtres
the descendants
allés
of these
défendre
same
les autres
ancestors
qui ont
who went to
libéré le
defend the
monde du
others,
nazisme.
who freed the world from
Aujourd'hui,
Nazism.
vous vous battez pour vos terres. Ces mêmes
Today, you fight
individus
for your
osent
land.
All right, folks, we have no copyright to the video playing. It is for educational purpose. We're going to be on sharp 1 p.m. We have 9 minutes to 1, so be with me. Keep watching. We're going to be on 1 p.m. So roughly we have 9 more minutes to 1, and then we're going to be here for the juices, okay, as usual. Keep watching.
These same individuals dare to create terms to dirty you.
Nous opposons à cela. Nous ne serons
We
jamais
oppose
d'accord.
this. We will never agree.
Continuez à défendre vos terres. Ce sont vos richesses qui intéressent ces gens.
Continue to defend your lands. It is your wealth that interests these people. It is our
Sinon,
gold,
pourquoi
our
venir
minerals
chercher
that interest
des villages
them.
entiers pour s'accaparer de nos terres? Donc, nous allons combattre et nous allons
If
récupérer nos
not,
terres. Nos
why come
richesses,
and
ça
look
nous
for
appartient.
entire
C'est à nous,
villages
c'est
to
à
take
nous,
our
c'est à nos
lands?
côtés et à
So
nos
we will
enfants.
fight and we will recover our lands. Our
Je
wealth
vous
belongs to
encourage
us.
donc à
It
garder
is
en
to
mémoire
us that it will
que cette
benefit
guerre,
and to
c'est
our
pour nous
children.
sortir de l'esclavage.
So I encourage you to keep in mind that this war is to get us out of
Et vous
slavery.
devez garder le
It is
moral
for
haut.
our
Restez
independence.
debout.
And you
Ne
must keep your
jamais
morale high.
céder
Stay up.
aux manipulateurs,
We will never give
à
in
ces
to the
individus qui ne
manipulators,
savent
to
plus
these
cette notion de
individuals
patrie,
who no longer
ou à
know
ces
this
gens qui
notion
viennent
of
de
homeland,
l'extérieur
or to
pour
these
essayer de
people who
nous
come from the
dompter
outside
à travers
to try to
leurs
tame us through their
termes
terms
qu'ils
that
ont
they
inventés
invented
eux,
and their
leurs
organisms that
qu'ils
they
ont inventés
invented
pour
to
nous
serve us.
asservir. Combattez, avancez,
Fight, move
faites
forward,
tout ce que vous pouvez
do
faire.
everything you
Puisez,
can.
comme j'ai dit, dans
Dive,
vos
as I
ressources
said, into your
culturelles,
cultural
dans ce
resources,
dans quoi vous avez
into what you have
forgé
been
depuis le
forging
village.
since the village.
Puisez dedans.
Dive
Faites
into
cette
it
guerre.
and wage this war.
Restez concentrés.
Stay focused and stay up.
Vous êtes ces gens-là qui ont osé.
You are those people who dared to take up arms to support the different forces of defense and security,
Pour lutter,
to fight to recover our lands.
ce n'est pas permis à tout le monde. Chacun à son
This does
niveau
not apply to
peut faire
everyone.
ce qu'il peut.
Everyone at his level can do what he can.
Sont dans le commerce et
Others are in business and contribute.
essaient de communiquer pour vous encourager.
Others try to communicate to encourage you.
Il sait, en tout cas, chacun de sa position.
Others
Fait ce
try to
qu'il
do what
peut.
they can,
Mais vous, vous avez décidé de
but
prendre
you have
les armes.
decided to take up arms and face them.
On aime le dire, en temps de guerre, il y a deux types
We
de
like to say
citoyens.
that in times of war, there are two types of
Les
citizens.
porteurs de tenue, qu'on
Those who
appelle
wear
FDS,
uniforms called FDS,
doivent
who
aller
must go
vers la
towards
mort.
death.
C'est
It is
leur
their duty.
devoir. Et les civils qui doivent fuir. la
And the
mort.
civilians who must flee death because they are not trained for it.
Mais dans l'histoire des peuples, il arrive
But in the
toujours
history
ces
of
moments
peoples,
où vous vous retrouvez
there is
confronté,
always a moment when you find
à votre
yourself confronted
existence.
with your existence.
Soit vous vous battez ou vous disparaissez.
Either you fight or you
Aujourd'hui,
disappear.
le Burkina fait face à son destin.
Today, Burkina
C'est
faces
une
its
question
destiny.
d'existence.
It is a question of existence.
Et à ces moments cruciaux,
And at this
parmi ces
crucial
civils
moment,
qui devraient donner d'eau à la mort,
among those civilians who
vous avez
must give water to
décidé
death,
de prendre les armes et faire face. et
you have
accompagner
decided
les
to
frères.
take up arms and face and support your brothers in arms.
Nous ne pouvons pas finir de vous rendre hommage.
We cannot
Nous ne pouvons
stop
pas
paying
finir de
tribute
vous
to you.
magnifier, nous ne pouvons pas finir de vous
We cannot
glorifier.
stop magnifying you. We cannot stop
Vous êtes des
glorifying you.
Burkinabés et c'est tout
You
ce
are
qu'on
from
nous demande.
Burkina Faso, and that is all we have
Vous avez
asked.
fait face à l'ennemi sans pour autant
You have
connaître
faced the enemy without knowing the enemy,
l'ennemi à fond, sans pour autant connaître, avoir les mêmes capacités que les forces.
without
de
having the
sécurité.
same capabilities
Vous avez
as the
fait
security
face.
forces.
Beaucoup d'entre vous ont payé,
But you have faced it.
mais vous continuez à
Many of you have paid for their lives, but you continue to
Que pouvons-nous
resist.
faire pour améliorer vos conditions de travail?
What can we do to improve your working conditions? That is combat.
La première des choses, le VDP existe.
First of all,
depuis
the
plusieurs
FDS has existed for several years,
années, n'était pas équipé.
but it was not equipped, especially the notion of individual weapons. I think that this problem is more or less solved. All those who are VDP in the villages today have weapons. Anyway, there are still many who want to join, I am sure. All the villagers might want to be VDP, but we will go step by step. Because we have also asked the civilians to contribute, as I told you earlier, up to a level that should allow you to take charge. That is why in January we decided to go to another level in terms of prices, but also in terms of taking charge to injure and ensure a certain minimum. The equipment will continue, and everything that can be done to accompany you, it will continue to grow. As we advance in the fight, you are identified, you are known, and you are a block in the different communes. That is why I ordered that we order clothes to start equipping little by little. But the ideal for me is not to buy clothes from abroad. We need to be able to design new types of clothes for you, and we want these clothes to be made here. That is why we are accelerating the establishment of the factory that must produce our clothes, because I want there to be a particular model, a special outfit for this army that has the BBDP too. So this is a question that will be resolved. And what is more normal is that you are dressed by ourselves through our cotton that has been transformed here. But I urge you to never lose focus. We must not be surprised. We must not sleep. We never lower our arms. Today, look at the volume of terrorists who attacked Burkina Faso. Did you imagine that there was such a thing in Burkina Faso? They were there, covered in darkness, what we call dormant cells, because those who kept us in this situation, the day they wanted, it was enough for them to say to the government, we did this. If you refuse, they will activate, and we must fight. These are enemies of the nation. They decided to attack their country. We must fight them. It is without mercy. The other thing is between yourselves. You must overcome a certain number of events and do not let yourself be manipulated. When there are events, we must avoid making interpretations or let ourselves be manipulated. Our country has long been in a very complicated system.
The number one food that kills testosterone.
This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, folks. Once again, this is Frank Malba. I am your host. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series aspect of WCC every Sunday at 1 p.m. This is where we preach the best gospel every Sunday. If you want to hear the best gospel, the truth, if you want to be liberated, if you want to be free, if you want to get salvation, this is where you need to come to get salvation. So today's topic, it says, welcome everybody. How you doing, Daniel? So today's topic, it says, former France economic minister on awakening Africa. Former France economic minister on awakening Africa. And post-Trump's New York verdict. Post-Trump New York verdict. Now, there are a lot of views about Trump locally and even internationally. But on this platform, we bring view on how actually things are unfolding. We bring view on the facts, okay? We don't go by mainstream media narrative on this platform because we analyze critically and see what is behind the actions. We are not looking at the actions, but we are looking at the motive of the actions. That is what WCC is about as well. And then the second thing we're going to look at is former France economy minister on awakening Africa. So he made a statement about Africa. So we're going to be looking at that. So not to waste time, let's get into it so that we can make the presentation boring. By the way, it's never boring anyway. So let's get into it. Let's see here, okay? So the first thing we're going to discuss here is Trump, the very issue that just happened in New York, all right? So let's see here because there are a lot of perspective, a lot of views. But what is WCC view? And again, someone may say, what is the importance of discussing Trump trial? It's very important. All right. It's very, very important. And by the way, Trump is not a globalist. And that is what we are here to discuss today. Trump is not a globalist. And that's one of the reasons, okay, they found him guilty. They bent behind him. Now, let me say this. There are a whole lot of stuff that go on with the American presidency. You think Joe Biden is innocent? You think Joe Biden is sin? You think even how they call it, Obama was a sin? No. All of those people have their hidden agenda that they date, even before becoming president. But because they are globalists, they did not go after them. Trump is not a globalist, he's a nationalist. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into it, all right? So everything we says here, we have evidence for it. Everything we says here, we already have proof, all right? But sometimes we want to bring these informations, not just to come and sit here and just speak, right? We like to present the information as we speak so that you can see it. Trump is being targeted because he's not a globalist. He's a nationalist. And the globalists do not want nationalists. They don't want it. They want you to think that everyone, okay, live in harmony. Okay, the world live in harmony. That's what they want you to think. But the reality here is, you yourself, do we have globalists? Is the war in harmony? Look at what is happening in Palestine. Do you call that harmony? Look at what is happening in Gaza. Do you call that harmony? When they are calling for peace and some other people are there vetoing peace, do you call that harmony? When thousands of people, children, babies are being killed in Gaza and Palestine, and you call that globalist? No. And that is what I don't like about Trump, because he's not a globalist, he's a nationalist. So that's what we're going to look at as well, right? So let's go to the Trump issue. So let's look at the first article here. So let's look at the first article here, okay? We're going to take it bit by bit. So that's the first article from the Hill. All right. So let's go to the guilty issue first and see. All right. And then before we get into it. So it's the Hill, right? Now, jury found Trump guilty on 34 counts. First president convicted of felony. All right. First president convicted of felony. Folks, there are a lot of United States presidents who have done it worse than Donald Trump. Let us be frank here. Killing innocent people, killing women and children. Is that less than Donald Trump having an affair? In quote, having an affair. We want to make you understand something. All right? Sponsoring war. Okay? To kill women and children. To destroy society. Okay? To destroy culture. To destroy life and property. Is that justifiable as to someone having an affair with a prostitute? I hope you getting me now. Spending billions of dollars to destroy a nation. Women and children are begging just to live. Is that justifiable to having an affair with a prostitute? Yeah. That's the question. All right, that's the question. Vetoing peace resolution. Vetoing peace resolution. Is that justifiable? Then someone paying money to have an affair with a prostitute. He did not take advantage of the prostitute. And the money he paid to have an affair with the prostitute, it did not kill the prostitute. It never killed the prostitute. It never caused harm to the prostitute. In fact, it gave peace to the prostitute. It gave financial stability or assistance to the prostitute. How about you spending billions of dollars killing women and children? Is that justifiable? Let's go to the article, folks. Just a little thought. Now, jury found Donald Trump guilty of 34 counts. First president convicted of felony. Now, let's see something here. Jury found former President Donald Trump guilty on all 34 counts. Sorry, there are a lot of apps. On 34 counts of falsifying business record. Falsifying business record, making him the first former president to be convicted of a felony. The jury reached a verdict in the late afternoon after less than 12 hours of deliberation in the hush money criminal case. Hush money criminal case. Spending billions of dollars to kill innocent people. That is justifiable, right? Let's continue here. The 12th New Yorker on Trump jury reached a unanimous decision on his fate, eliminating the possibility of a hung jury. Trump faced 34 counts of falsifying business record in connection with a hush money payment his ex-fixer, Michael Cole, made to porn star maid to porn actor, maid to porn star, maid to a prostitute, right? Stormy Daniel ahead of the 2026, let's say 2016 election, to keep secret her alleged affair with Trump, to keep secret her alleged affair with Trump a decade way back, a decade prior until after votes were cast. Trump denied the affair and pleaded not guilty. How? Paying way back before he was even thinking about president, right? He did not rape this porn actor or porn star. He never raped this lady. All right? He went to receive a service and he paid for the service. And the service was given to him. He never killed anyone. He paid for a service and the service was given to him. How is that an issue? How is that an issue but spending billions of dollars bumping women and children, innocent people, bumping hospitals, bumping refugees camps, while civilians are seeking refuge? How come are you not guilty of even 99.9999 counts? How come are you not guilty of 99.99999 counts? But you found a man guilty because he paid a porn star to have an affair. But you justify yourself as the judge supporting war, killing women and children, and you say you are the human rights advocate, and you veto peace resolution. And you justify that as the right thing to do. Folks, if anyone is to face count 99.99999, the man who went and paid porn star and have an affair with a porn, okay, first of all, the American government agreed to have a porn business because they are getting taxes. If you say you are finding someone guilty for paying a porn star to have an affair, why did you allow such a business in the country? Because you are receiving taxes. You allow it because you want human beings to go and have an affair. You allow a grocery store in a community, right? Because you want people to go there and buy to buy grocery. Simple as that. You have food store because you want people to go to the food store to get their needs. You have dentists, right? You have hospitals because you want for people to go there to cater to their needs. And that is why you approve porn as a business entity, and they have their 501(c) or whatsoever it may be, and they pay taxes to you. So why should you charge someone from going there to pay money and have an affair? Why did you allow such a business to establish? Why did you approve such a business? Let's continue here. But folks, before we even get to it, this is politically motivated. This is politically motivated. Do not allow anyone to say to you, Trump have an affair. That's why he's guilty. All right? That's the narrative that we gave you. But have you gone to do your own research? Have you asked yourself, why would they wait? I mean, Trump left power a long time. 4 years ago, Trump left power, right? Why they did not find him guilty? They left dragging until time for election before they found him guilty. Until time for election, November 2024 is election day or is election month. That's the time they found Trump guilty. Do you agree to that? Well, maybe yes, right? But we are here to prove to you it's politically motivated. Let's continue here. And we'll tell you why it is politically motivated. Almost 4 years. They never found him guilty. Right? Let's read here. Trump on Thursday insisted he is a very innocent man after the verdict in his hush money trial, vowing he will keep fighting. This was a rich, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th. That will be election. But the people, and they know that, and they know what happened here, and everybody know what happened here. I myself, I know, because I did my research. Trump said outside the courtroom shortly after the verdict was read. Trump fundraising page crashed shortly after he was convicted. That is what they wanted. That is why they waited until a few months to the election. They came out with a guilty. Meanwhile, after 4 years, right? Let's continue. Let's continue. Be with me. Don't go. Be with me. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, Democrat, at a Thursday press conference, declined, even a Democrat declined to say whether prosecutor will seek jail time for former President Donald Trump after he was found guilty on 34 counts, a falsifying business record to conceal an affair. All right, let's continue down here. Senator John True, Republican San Diego, the number 2 member of the leadership and a top contender to replace Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican. The conference said the case was politically motivated and looked ahead of the November election and the chance to boost President Biden from office. This case was politically motivated from the beginning, and today, verdict does nothing to absolve the partisan nature of his prosecution. Trump said, regardless of outcome, more and more Americans are realizing that we cannot survive 4 more years of Joe Biden with President Trump in the White House and a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate. We can finally end this disastrous Biden scam agenda that crushing American families and businesses. Now, again, somebody may say, just because, oh, you agree because a Republican said this was politically motivated, right? No. He said it. Now, I'm not saying this is politically motivated because he said it here. Like I said, I did my own research, right? And I know the reason why I said it is politically motivated. All right. Now, many before Trump, the Republican presumptive nominees was found guilty on all 34 felony counts in a Manhattan hush money case. Hunger shared a Thursday post on the social media platform X saying that regardless, what's happening here? Please don't. All right. Lot of apps. Bear with me, folks. Lot of apps. I don't want me to read. Okay, I can't even find what I was reading. All right, let's just read here. Speaker Mark Johnson on Thursday blasted Donald Trump conviction in his New York hush money case, predicting that the former president will successfully appeal the absurd verdict. Today is a shameful day in American history, Johnson said in a statement released minutes after Trump's guilty verdict was read in court. The American people rightfully see this is a lawfare and they know it is dangerous. He added, President Donald Trump will rightfully appeal his absurd verdict. Now, let me take this out, all right? Now, I just brought this out so you can see that he was, convicted of all 34 counts, right? But let's get into here. Now, let me pull this video out and then I'm going to make a statement before we play the video. Like I said, Donald Trump is a globalist. A nationalist. He's not a globalist. And that is why they don't want him. All right? We're going to see everything today, why they don't want him in the picture. All right. Again, like I said, Donald Trump being a nationalist and not a globalist, let me share this to you. As you have been seeing, right, since the Ukraine situation, and you have seen Africa, to some extent, waking up to the reality, right? If Donald Trump, being a nationalist, come into power, what's going to happen here is, look at this first of all. The war in Ukraine is going to end. If Donald Trump come into office, the war in Ukraine will end. All right? That is a fact. Being a nationalist, not a globalist. And we're going to show that here why the war will end. And, okay, let's continue here. Now, do you think the U.S. is going to spend over 150 or $60 billion? And then in a war in Ukraine, and then all of a sudden, Donald Trump come and become president. And then all that money, all those money get wasted. So they are not going to allow it happen. They have already spent over $150 billion. Recently, they just signed $98 billion. Wow, 2 months ago, I believe. $98 billion. They just signed it. And they have already said, if Ukraine loses the war, that will be the end of the Western hegemony. Pay attention, folks. They did not find Trump guilty because he's guilty or because he did what he said. Like I said, how can someone paying prostitute to have an affair be an issue. When you created an industry, American government created an industry because they want taxes. They give the people, they go ahead, the platform, the authority, the lesson to do it. So do you give lesson to someone to go operate, okay, to create an industry where they will have a bunch of women as prostitutes? Do you expect animals to go and have sex with those women? Do you expect dog to go and have an affair with those women? Of course not. It is human being who will go there to have an affair with those women. That is why you created it. So why are you going to find someone guilty? Because they went and paid their own money for a service. Oh, so are you telling me if someone now go and pay money to get therapy, you're going to find them guilty for going, paying money to a therapist to receive a service? You're going to find them guilty. Let's continue here. We're looking at this on a different perspective. Not what mainstream media come and tell us, oh, Donald Trump is guilty, he's found telephone count, he's this, he's that. Is that worse? Is that worse than looking at women and children being killed 24/7 in DRC Congo? Is that worse? Creating proxy war? Oh, did you not see the 2 Americans in DRC Congo who went to go carry coup d'etat? Who sent them there? Oh, is that worse? Someone minding their own business, go and pay for a service and got that service, and you find them guilty from paying money to receiving service. So if you go to a therapy, you pay money to the therapy and you receive the service, that's a crime. So these are the reasons that they do not want Donald Trump to come to power. They just spent $98 billion. You think they want to lose it? And they already told if Ukraine loses the war, that will be the end of Western hegemony. That will be the end of the American empire. That will be the end of Europe. That will be the end of Europe if Ukraine loses the war. They just spent billions of dollars. You think they're going to allow Donald Trump to come to power? They're going to, and they know Trump have the support. They know it. They have done a coup. Before they came out with the veteran count, you know what they did? Before they came out with that count to say he's guilty, they did a coup. They did a coup. Overwhelmingly, Donald Trump is favored of becoming the next president from that pool. And the following week, they said, no, we got to do something. We got to change the mind of the American voters. But is that going to stop the problem? It's not going to stop it. In fact, it make it worse. It increase his support. Donald Trump is not a globalist. He's a nationalist. We're going to prove that here. Now, let's watch a video from Biden. Okay? From Biden. These are the reasons they found Donald Trump guilty. They want him out of the picture.
Major story we're watching today. There's been a major change in U.S. policy on arming Ukraine, in particular, how the weapons that Washington provides are used. For the first time, the White House will allow some U.S. weapons to be used to strike inside Russia. For more on that now, I'm joined by Nick Schifrin. So, Nick, tell us, what did the president decide?
For the last 2 years, President Biden has had 2 goals in Ukraine, not necessarily complementary. One, to try and prevent Russia from taking over Ukraine and therefore send U.S. weapons and money into Ukraine. The second is to avoid direct U.S. Russia confrontation. And that led him to restrict the use of those U.S. weapons so that Ukraine could not fire them into Russia. But in the last few weeks, some 30,000 Russian troops gathered on the border, bombarded Ukrainian towns like this one in the Kharkiv district, and seized 12 villages around the buffer zone, or what Russia's trying to create is a buffer zone. They've also bombarded Kharkiv city, the second largest city in Ukraine, despite the fact that Ukrainians were watching the Russian troops gather right on the border and launch this attack that everyone knew was coming, and yet Ukraine couldn't use those weapons to try and prevent it. And so a U.S. official confirms tonight, quote, the president recently directed his team to ensure that Ukraine is able to use U.S. supplied weapons for counterfire purposes in the Kharkiv region so Ukraine can hit back. Kharkiv region is part of this statement. The U.S. official who told me went on to say our policy with respect to prohibiting the use of long-range strikes inside Russia has not changed.
The very specific guidance there. But Nick, this didn't happen in a vacuum. There's been a lot of international pressure on President Biden. What do we know about that?
The British government lifted its restrictions a month ago. This past week, the French President Emmanuel Macron and the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also said that Ukraine should be allowed to use Western weapons to fire into Russia. But a U.S. official tonight said that President Biden actually made his initial decision on this 2 weeks ago, May the 15th. And so clearly the international pressure has increased, but the U.S. decided this before that happened.
Great reporting from Nick Schifrin tonight on this major change in U.S. policy. Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, with the decision and actions, right, that is going on in Ukraine, you think they're going to allow Trump, a nationalist, to come in office when they know that their last chance of survival or keeping their empire is to defeat Russia and China? Because these are the two nations that are competing with the US and Europe. And those two nations that are competing with the US and Europe is typically Africa. Everything going on here, right? Now, I'm not saying that they are not taking advantage of other people in other parts of the world, like Haiti, all right? Where they just send a puppet military government, William Ruto, all right, to go send his people to go and die there. Because at the end of the day, instead of the blame to fall on the US, the blame is going to fall on Africa now. The blame, every action, every situation now from going on forth, right? Going on forth. Any news media or reporters or writers, okay, going to write about Haiti is not going to be about America was the cause or the West was the cause. It's going to say Africa was the cause. It's going to say Kenya. So the fault is going to be put on Africa now. Okay? Instead of it going to the US. The US caused the issue when it removed the government that was there for the people. A democratic government, a peaceful government. Why can't they go and solve their problem? And you, William Ruto, instead of them taking the blame, the fault, instead of them taking the blood on their hand, they say, you, William Ruto, now you're going to throw the blood of the Haitian on your hand. So the blood of the Haitian going to be diverted on the hands of Africans, going to be diverted on the hands of Kenyans. That's what's going to happen. Your presence in Kenya, in Haiti, is not going to bring peace. It's not. Let's do this. Do you have support more than the United States? Do you have sophisticated weapons more than the US? More than Europe? Do you have it? Do you have trained army more than the US? More than Europe? Do you have trained army more than the so-called United Nations? William Ruto. Do you have the manpower? Do you have the population more than the US? More than Europe? Do you have the population more than the so-called UN? You cannot even protect your own Africa, your own Kenya. In fact, you have limited army to just protect or to fight for Kenya. Your army is limited. And you take your army and send it to Haiti. When you have limited army, you have limited supply. But because you want to catch, but because you want the money, but because you want the crumbs, now you are going to take the sin of the US, the sin of Europe. You are going to throw their cross and give their cross to Africa. Why can the US take her cross? Why can Europe take their cross? But once again, Africa has put herself in a position to throw the cross of the US, to throw the cross of Europe. Once again. And for each time we throw the cross of these people and never benefit or any far. That's the more time the Most High cross us more and more because we are lacking knowledge. And that is why we continue to suffer. We always want to go save other people. Now, I'm not saying that people in Haiti are not supposed to be saved. But our statement I made, we always want to save other people. We always want to go save the slave master, Europe or the West. If you want to go to Haiti, why can you go as the entire continent? Why can you go as an entire continent going to fight or to save their brothers and sisters? Why can you go as AU? Why can you go as AU? You can go as AU because AU is a colonial organization. AU is a de facto organization of the US. So it makes no difference because at the end of the day, the US sponsor the AU, a de facto organization. What did you go to do in Haiti? You was to go there as a continent along with South America. Not Kenya. When you do not have army to even protect the Kenyan nation. You do not have any manpower. You do not have even the support. You still go to all. You still come to the CUS asking them for ammunition to protect Kenya. You do not even manufacture your own weapon. What are you doing there? What did you go to do there? You still go back around for ammunition to fight terrorists in Kenya. What is a supply? You still come to the same US or outside war to beg for food. To beg for food. And then you send your army. What is the money or the capital or the supply you have to sustain the people you send in Haiti? What did you go to do there? That is why Africa is not united. Going to Haiti is not a bad idea. But how? How? Does a colonial master have to tell you to go there before you go there? Why can you go there as a continent? Why can you go there as a continent, as AU, as the 55 head of states? But you have to come to the US for US to give you money and then sit there and crank your legs like you are part of the world leader. And they don't count you as part of the world leader. For each time you come to the US, the reality here is you are a slave coming to the slave master for the slave master to charge you what to do as you go on a plantation That's all you come for. The only difference is you are not being whipped. You are not being whipped. That's the only difference. But you are being told what to do. The only difference is you dress in kosu. Then during those days, our people did not dress in kosu. The only difference is you have some good, nice pair of shoes on. As compared to those days, our people did not have pair of shoes on. The only difference is you have tie. Then those days, our people did not have tie. The only difference is you have presidential convoy or escort. Then those days, our people did not have presidential escort or convoy. But again, that is why these people are so sophisticated, because things changes. Things changes. Things changes. So they are becoming good and good and good and good in what they do. Because at the end of the day, it's about controlling your mind as a slave while their products are being produced, are going through at the end of the day. So it does not matter how they treat you now. What matter here is how can what they want to be done by who? By you. By who? By the slave. So just because you came here and you sat down with Joe Biden and you crank your legs like a president, and Joe Biden crank his legs like a president, you have tie, Joe Biden have tie, you have kosu, Biden have kosu. You sat in the same presidential chair, okay, and Biden sat in the same chair, the same design, the same custom made. That does not make you any important. They are just making you to think you are at that stage. But at the end of the day, you are going back to the plantation. They are giving you order while they sit. Going to Haiti is not a bad thing. But America should not tell you to go there before you go there. So are you telling us there will be no peace in DRC Congo until America tell the African continent to go carry peace in DRC Congo before you, William Ruto, you will do anything? There will be no peace in Sudan until the US or UK tell African leaders to go in Sudan, to carry their army in Sudan. Are you crazy? Let's look at the next video here. Let's continue with
is cooking up something big right now, very big. NATO is cooking up something big right now, very big. According to excellent journalist and friend of the show, Eva Bartlett, quote, I've heard from several contacts now who've gotten the same nearly verbatim emails and questions. NATO's mouthpieces are cooking something up. Now, if you know Eva, she's one of the finest journalists in the world, okay? Hands down. Very few people even come close to her. She's not given to hyperbole, okay? She's not one to say, NATO's up to something. No, she's basing that in fact, and it's deeply, deeply concerning. I'll tell you, a hot war with Russia is happening, folks. We need to wake up right now. The Biden administration, led by Antony Blinken, because President Biden is not leading this administration, it's Antony Blinken. He's president, basically, of the United States. Blinken hints U.S. will allow Ukraine to strike Russian territory with U.S. missiles. He made the comments in Moldova, where he is right now, getting them to shut down their state media, to enable them to stop any kind of Russian information that's being that's coming into their country. Going to give millions of dollars in aid for that country right now, as long as they stand in lockstep with us right now. Anyway, he said that the U.S. may allow Ukraine to strike Russian territory with U.S.-made missiles, which would risk provoking a major response from Russia, of course.
Your child needs these 3 key factors to get into an Ivy League or top 25 university.
Last night, Blinken actively pushing to allow NATO to strike Russian territory with U.S.-made missiles. I don't care how you spin this. We are not stupid. This means the U.S. is attacking Russia, a physical, hot, kinetic war with Russia. This is how they will control us. This is how they will remain in power. Think you have an election to worry about coming up in November? Not if we're at a full-blown war with Russia. They won't have to even worry about an election. We'll cancel the DNC. We'll cancel the Democratic National Convention. We'll make sure that all of you get a ballot mailed to your house. You don't have to leave the house. There's a security risk. Why would you want to go to a grocery store? Why would you want to leave your house? After all, Russia could hit you. This is how they will control us. Remember, Tucker Carlson warned us about this. Right after he was let go from Fox News, he talked about a hot war with Russia and how they've tried the COVID strategy. They actively want a hot war with Russia. This is how they will control us. Watch.
Here's my view of it. I think the lies are unsustainable. Lying is always unsustainable. You're always found out in the end, whether in your lifetime or posthumously. But lies are always revealed by their nature. And these lies are so big and so obvious and so stupid that it's going to be very clear to the majority of voters before the election that the Biden administration has no idea what it's doing, that Joe Biden is not running the government, and that it's not working at all. And I think by that point, we're going to have a real economic contraction. I think we're going to be in the teeth of a very tough recession, and that makes everything much more intense. And so if your goal is to maintain power, and if you think once you relinquish power, the problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. Is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway.
All right. So you heard that, right? Now, let's even dive into it, right? When the situation started in Ukraine with Russia first, the United States, UK, they were all like distant, right? They was all distant. They did not send military support. They did not send army ammunition at first. All they said was Russia is the bad man, Russia is the boogeyman, Russia is there, Russia is this, right? But at the same time, Russia and Zelensky or Ukraine, along with other nations who wanted peace, they were going and they met Russia or Putin, and Putin agreed for peace resolution. In fact, one of the meetings, there was a draft, and Putin had his copy that he even showed to the African leaders when the African delegate or the African leader went to Russia. Putin showed it to them and said, look, we had a peace agreement or peace talk, and this is my copy. I agree. And the moment Zelensky left the meeting, he met with the U.S. The U.S. told him not to sign a paper, not to agree. UK told him not to agree. And we saw that. Okay? We saw that when the former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, said there will be no peace agreement and Zelensky is not going to sign it. And we saw that even Joe Biden said there is not going to be peace talk or peace negotiation, right? And then later on, what happened? They began to go to Congress, all right, asking for money after they saw Ukraine was not winning, asking for money, more and more money, right, to supply to Ukraine. Yet and stay, Ukraine soldier was dying. They were not winning. And then later, what happened? They start sending more and more American weapons, right? American weapons. And what happened? Those weapons and machine and equipment, it did not survive the weather, the winter. It did not survive. And in fact, Russia destroyed most of those things. And we saw former U.S. Marine came out here, Sarah Stan, that we showed. And he talked about those things, that the American weapon cannot be used to fight the war, even a tank. And they are not going to win. And in fact, the Ukrainians are going to die, right? And then later, what then happen again? The same military. So as we speak right now, you have U.S. Marine fighting in Ukraine. You have a European Marine fighting in Ukraine. So they're already fighting. So now you see how gradually they have been involved. Probably, let me say this, probably this election might be the last election. And then we get into World War III. Probably. I don't know. Probably, the probability, right? This election, November election, might be the last election, and then the war. And that is why they are still holding on, because they want to see after the election, and then before they can get into it, I believe, probably. So that is why they have gone ahead of time and made everything possible to make the American voters not to go and vote for Trump. It's politically motivated. So what you see going on is World War III. It's war directly. So now you see from Ukraine and Russia, and then from indirect support, now you see direct support. From indirect support, now you see you having direct support, direct involvement. You getting it? You see what's going on here? And time to time they have said there is no way Ukraine lose that war. How will you say there is no way Ukraine lose a war when Ukraine militaries are being killed? They are decreasing in population. They are military. How will they win? When they do not have supply, you have to supply them. How will they win? When Russia supply herself with her artillery, Russia supply herself with a machine, Russia supply herself with her water rainy season or jacket or winter jacket. Russia supply everything that she used, every equipment Russia supply. But not on the other hand with Ukraine. How will you fight and defeat someone who supply? Then you're waiting for supply to come. So from indirect, now is direct involvement of the war. You think they want for Trump to come? With all investment, with all these investment they are doing in the war, do you think they want a nationalist to come in power? No way. So you heard what he said. By next year, you might be in direct war with Ukraine. I mean, with Russia. The U.S. might be in direct war with Russia. You heard what he said.
I don't think we'll win it, but that's a separate analysis. But
now that was 9 months ago. Pretty prescient. Then the mainstream media playing right along with Biden. Here's the New York Times in lockstep. From allies and advisors, pressure grows on Biden to allow attacks on Russian territory. President Biden is weighing fears of escalation with a nuclear-armed adversary as he considers whether to let Ukraine shoot American weapons into Russia. First of all, do any of you believe for a hot second that President Biden is weighing anything in his brain? I mean, honestly. And I don't say that to be rude, but I mean, do you think advisors are sitting around wondering, the president, he's up there sitting at the coffee table by the fireplace, like Franklin Roosevelt, you know?
I think they just give him an ice cream cone and they talk about the things they want to talk about. He's just sitting there with his ice cream and they're planning the destruction of the United States.
Just melting in his mouth, and he's not weighing anything. There's nothing that he's weighing right now. There are people that are running this on purpose, and this is exactly what they want to have happen. From allies and adversaries, right? Pressure grows on Biden. They control everything that he does. It's not enough right now because the new narrative from the West is that Ukraine will die unless we launch attacks at military targets inside Russia. It's not enough to just stop them in Ukraine. No, we need to go to the heart of the matter right now. Here's an example of how this narrative has changed in the Western press. Here's the Telegraph. Ukraine knows it is finished. Then it's Ukraine now knows that it has just months left to survive. But now it's at the bottom of your screen. Without what Western armaments, Ukraine may only have months left. See how this flows? But even the weapons aren't enough. So we need long-range weapons to hit inside of Russia because our weapons suck. Here's CNN. Soldiers in Ukraine say U.S.-supplied tanks have made them targets for Russian strikes. The armed forces of Ukraine have complained to CNN about Abrams tanks, saying that these vehicles don't have enough armor to even stop small drone attacks. Russia is destroying these crappy tanks. They're over 30 years old, by the way. Ukraine says the tanks are so bad that when a little rain or moisture or fog get into the tank, they're burning out the crappy electronics inside the tank.
Oh, hey there. Did you know that every time you check your
Here's CNN.
They hide feverishly as they're a prime target for Russian missiles. But if Moscow knew the trouble these US-supplied Abrams tanks are causing Ukraine, they might not bother and let them keep them. The M1 Abrams, America's main battle tank, a veteran of fighting Saddam in Iraq and desert insurgents. But muddy Ukrainian fields and $500 attack drones, not so much.
There was such a fuss around whether Ukraine would get these, but from the moment the decision was made, yes, through the training, through the time it took to get to the front line, the war has enormously changed.
All 31 America gave are now in one area in the east where Ukraine is losing ground. Training in Germany, the interior in Ukrainian. And while there is gratitude for all US help, they can't pretend this is working.
Його броня на сьогоднішній момент абсолютно недостатня. Вона не захищає екіпаж. Насправді на сьогоднішній момент це війна дронів. Тепер, коли виїжджає танк, його завжди намагаються вразити.
Ціль номер один.
Ціль номер один.
На полі бою, виходить, без захисту екіпаж виживає.
It's sad, of course, that American armor is garbage. Colonel Douglas McGregor has told us this for months here on this show, that our weapons are not up to par. They're insufficient. They were built for old wars. And of course, the military-industrial complex knows that. They're able to keep building them because we keep paying them for them. And they're not useful. They're being destroyed and they're out of date. They are anachronistic at this point. And so why are CNN, though, and the New York Times, this is to me more sad about all of this. Why are CNN, the New York Times, and other publications all like within the same 48-hour period, 72-hour period, all simultaneously telling us these things? So curious, isn't it? These news organizations that literally have connections to the intelligence community that get stories fed to them on a spoon. Why are they all on the same page? So curious, isn't it? It's for one clear purpose, of course. What you've been doing isn't working. Time to launch long-range attacks inside of Russia. So you need more proof. Do you need any more proof that they're all in cahoots? The front page of the Financial Times today. NATO's Eastern European air defenses at 5% of required capacity. Yeah, nothing. We're being destroyed. So bad tanks, no air defenses, out of weapons. Ukraine could fall in moments. Yeah. Why are we hearing all of this? You know why? It's because Plan B is now on the table. Plan B, as Eva Bartlett mentioned earlier in the show, when she talked about there's something being cooked up. Could it be Plan B, which is attack Russia directly, deep inside of Russia? Putin knows it. He's not an idiot. He called it out directly. Watch.
представители стран НАТО, особенно в Европе, особенно в малых странах, они должны вообще отдавать себе отчет, с чем они играют. Они должны помнить о том, что это, как правило, государство с небольшой территорией и с очень плотным населением. И этот фактор, который они должны иметь в виду, прежде чем говорить о нанесении ударов вглубь российской территории. Это серьезная вещь, и мы, конечно, самым внимательным образом наблюдаем за этим. Ну и вообще эта постоянная эскалация может привести к серьезным последствиям. И если эти серьезные последствия будут наступать в Европе, как поведут себя Соединенные Штаты, имея в виду наш паритет в сфере стратегических вооружений?
Are you having trouble trying to keep up with your professor? You've got to try Otter. Here's how it works.
We're watching it very closely. Do you think he's bluffing? Again, I don't. Russia overnight just destroyed a NATO staging base in Western Ukraine. There is a large amount of weapons, a large amount of troops gathered there before being sent to the front lines. And trainers, NATO trainers. Russia fired one of their hypersonic Kinzhal missiles, according to reports, wiped out an entire F-16 loading area, killed over 300 people, including NATO forces from France, Poland, and Baltic countries. They hit the same area back in 2022, by the way. They know exactly. So now this is a clear message to NATO. We see the stuff arriving, the F-16s that you're training these pilots on right now, and you're flying back and forth over Poland and into Western Ukraine, and we're just going to destroy that whole area again. Putin has been warning that this was going to happen. Keep provoking him, and you're going to find out. F around and find out. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think NATO is cooking up right now? But they're all on the same page. Blinken in Moldova, all of these news publications saying the same thing. France saying that they're about to send trainers to Ukraine. What is about to happen here? I don't think that they are going to be going home with their tail between their legs saying, we're done. Sorry, we provoked the bear. We poked the bear enough. We were wrong. We're going back home.
All right, because of time, we can't play the entire video, right? But again, like I said, the election is what is holding the U.S. a little bit. But after the election, it's going to be a different turn. So you see what is going on. So all these things that they are putting together, they are doing. Do you think they want for a nationalist to come in? And look, the truth here is globalists, right? They are the dangerous, the evil, the demonic forces of the world, the globalists. The globalists are the evil and demonic forces of the world. The globalists. They are the problem to the world. You see what happened in Palestine? It is the globalists. What happened in Gaza? It is the globalists. What's happening in Ukraine? It is the globalists. What happened in Sudan? It is the globalists. What happened in Haiti? It is the globalists. What happened in DRC? It is the globalists. What happened in Niger, Chad, Mali, Burkina Faso? It is the globalists. Everywhere in the world, where their interests are not being protected, where they feel their interests are being targeted, the globalists make sure there is a conflict, no peace. Trump is not a globalist. Let's see what we mean by that. So now you know the entire world where you see conflicts, it is a cause of the globalists. Let's see this. Let's see something here. We came ready. We always come ready, and we will keep coming ready. Look at this right here. This is NBC News, right? Now, it says Trump preaches nationalism in UN speech. The future does not belong to globalists. This is Donald Trump speaking when he was president. So, now, this was one of the reasons, okay? They preach against him, but to the ignorance of the American people, they felt that what the media was saying, that was true against Donald Trump. For each time this news media bring anything to you, you have to go deeper and search. Trump, which, I mean, this is the United Nations, and you know who controls the United Nations, and you know what the United Nations stand for. So Trump stood up in the United Nations and telling the world there is no globalist, and telling the world America is not in your interest. So be in your own interest, be your own nationality, be your own patriot. Trump is standing among the world leader and telling them, these nations that call themselves globalists, they do not like you. They do not want you to succeed. Trump preaches nationalism in UN speech. The future does not belong to globalists. Do you think they want for Donald Trump to come in power? When Donald Trump have that kind of mindset, do you think they want him to come in power? They know, look, you see, let me say this. Mostly, I will go to this. We Africans, we black people, sorry to say this, but we behave dumb. And you know why we behave dumb? Anytime someone speak the truth to us, we hate that person. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it is like that. What on the African continent or out of the African continent, both home and abroad, we all behave the same. Black people behave the same. Any one of us that speak the truth, we hate that person. And we accept the lies. We accept the lies. And now the whole war, or let me not say the whole war. The black war, most of the majority see Donald Trump as the worst man ever in history. Because he spoke the truth when he was president. Because and he still speak the truth. And we black people, we never let to accept the truth. We love the lies over the truth. That is why even Harriet Tubman, when she went to fight her to free the slave, some of the slaves told her, we are not going. We don't want to be free. You are lying. You cannot free us. How can you free us? And that's what she said. Only if they knew they were slaves, I could have freed more thousand of them. Trump told world leaders that globalism has exerted a religious pull over past leaders, causing them to ignore their own national interest. Is that a lie? No, tell me, is that a lie? What do we see on the African continent? The African leader, most of these African leaders prefer their people to starve and suffer and die. And then come to Europe and America. They never host meeting on the African continent in favor of the African continent, in favor of African people. The African leader failed to come together to have meeting. But anytime Euro called in, Euro 2024 African Leadership Summit, US 2024 African Leadership Summit. In fact, they are about to have another one. I think North Korea or South Korea 2024 African Summit. But you never hear 2025 Africa US Summit, where the United States will be summoned to the African continent. You never hear 2025 Africa Europe Summit, where Europe will be summoned to the African continent. You never hear Africa 2025 Japan Summit, where Japan will be summoned to the African continent. But all these little tiny nations will always summon a whole continent. And you see them running, going. This is what Donald Trump was talking about here. Globalism has exerted a religious pull over past leaders, causing them to ignore their own international interest. It's a lie. It's a lie. As a liberator, as a man who needs freedom, I prefer this man. I prefer this man over Biden. Let's continue here. This is a man standing, giving a speech in the UN. So they do not want Donald Trump because he's a nationalist and not a globalist. And that is why the only new U.S. president who told Africans the truth, and he said, this is what they think about you. Not just because I'm saying it, they think about you that you are a shithole continent. You are a shithole nation. So don't look at me because it is coming from my mouth. That's what they are saying about you. But I'm just letting you to know this is what they've been saying. I'm a kind of person, I don't gossip. And that's Donald Trump. He don't gossip. He tell you what they are telling you, what they are planning against you. A globalist know that you are a shithole country, but he will not tell you you are a shithole country because he want to keep exploiting you. He want to keep lying to you. A nationalist will tell you how it is. If you are white, a nationalist will tell you are white. You black, gray, yellow, a nationalist will tell you how you are. A globalist will not tell you. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Now, embracing nationalism before the largest annual gathering of world leaders Tuesday, President Donald Trump used his speech at the United Nations General Assembly to push his America first, foreign policy agenda and urge his fellow head of state and urge African leaders and urge African head of state to follow the same thing. He was telling African leaders, if America put her interest first, why you African leader can't put your interest first? Why should I hate this kind of man? And what baffles me so much is that you will see most of these bunch of African puppets will go against what Donald Trump is saying here. Donald Trump is telling you, if America put her interest first, put your damn interest first. If America create a foreign policy, that foreign policy is in her national interest, create your own damn foreign policy and let our foreign policy be in your national interest too. Is that a bias? Let me read this again in the first place. President Donald Trump embracing nationalism before the largest annual gathering of the world leader Tuesday. President Donald Trump used his speech at the United Nations General Assembly to push his America first, to push Africa first, to push African people first, to push African interest first. Foreign policy agenda. And what did he do? He urged, you will never hear Biden will meet African leader and tell African leader, say, we put the American interest first. And then Biden tell African leader, will urge you to put your interest first. You will never see it. You will even the black man Obama will never do it, a puppet. But here is Donald Trump telling you, I urge world leader to follow the same thing. Let's continue here. He went as far as saying, the free world must embrace its national foundation. The free world must embrace its national foundation because African leader, African nation, African leaders, right? They fail to embrace their own national foundation. That is why Africa is poor. That is why Africa seems to be the poorest continent. That is why African nations seems to be the poorest nation in the world. When they're talking about third world country, that is why African nations are always in those categories. Because our leader failed to embrace our national foundation, our national interest. Because they think globalizing will save them. If globalizing actually was going to save you, America was not going to enslave Africans. America was not going to partake in the colonization of Africa. Europe was not going to enslave Africans. Europe was not going to partake in the colonization of Africa. America was not going to kill Gaddafi because Gaddafi was fighting for unity. They could have worked with Nkrumah. They could have worked with Jomo Kenyatta. They could have worked with Amilcar Cabral. They could have worked with Thomas Sankara. They could have worked with Patrick Lumumba. But they did not work with none of those people. That is how globalizing operates. Globalizing, they are the enemies of the world. Let's continue here. Wisely, he continued to say, wise leader always, this is Trump speaking, wise leader always put the good of their own people and their own country first. Wise leader. And that is what Trump did. They did not want him because they said, this guy is not a globalist. What globalists do is, globalists always exploit people. Globalists always steal from people. Globalists always oppress people. Globalists lies. They never tell you the truth. Globalist. But a nationalist will tell you to always put the good of your own people and your own country first. Because in his country, as a nationalist, he put his country first. He put his people first. So he will tell you to do the same thing as well. Trump continued. The future does not belong to globalists. This is Trump speaking. You see why they do not want him, right? Trump said, wise leader always put the good of their own people and their own country first. Now, did you see any of these things on social media, on CNN, all the platform? Did you see it that Trump said these things? No. They heard these things from you that you yourself have to go and find it. They never spoke about it. Trump said, wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their country first. Trump continued to say he advised leaders, he advised African leaders, he advised that the future does not belong to globalists. He advised African leaders that, look, you guys should stop coming here and thinking that we are all in a global society. We are all in a global village. Trump will tell the African leader it does not exist. These people, they are liars. At the end of the day, once you leave, they're going to be happy and they're going to say, look at these shithole people. Look at these shithole leaders. Look at these shithole African leaders. The future does not belong to globalists. Globalists are few group of people, few group of elite. He said the future belongs to patriot. Let me read that again. Sorry, folks. Trump said, wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. Trump continued to say the future does not belong to the globalists. And he added to say the future belongs to patriot. If you are not a patriot in your own nation, how can you be a globalist? If you are not a patriot, if you do not love your own country, you do not love your own country, what are you going to do in our country? What are you going to do with other nations? You're only going to be corrupt because whatsoever the globalists tell you, that's what you're going to do. And that is why in most Africa, our leaders are corrupt because they do not rule on their own thoughts. They do not rule on their own experience. They do not rule on what is happening within their locality, within their society. But they rule based on global agenda. And those global agenda are based on exploitation of resources. Are based on dehumanizing people in order to continue to live their empire. Trump also added that globalizing has exerted a religious pull. You know, religious pull, you know what religious do? Religion make you not to think outside of the box. That's what it means. Even if someone come and tell you, like for example, right now, your own brothers and sisters, as a black man, I'm speaking black here now, your own brothers and sisters will insult you if you come to them and tell them Jesus is not white. Jesus was never white. Meanwhile, the description of Jesus is written in the Bible, not even in one book. If you read Revelation, it's written there. If you read Daniel, it's written there. And then you read other prophets like Joel, Solomon, it is all written in those areas that these people are black. But if you go and preach to a black man, as a black man, you preach to your brother, they will insult you. In fact, they will be the one to tell you it doesn't matter. If it does not matter, why did they change it from black to white? It matters. If it does not matter, why in Revelation chapter 1 verse 1 to 14, the description of Jesus Christ is vividly written. It is written there because of a reason, because they knew that it was going to be changed. And when it gets changed, when you read it, you will know. So instead of you putting pictures of white in your room, on your wall, you will not put it there. That is why it matters. It matters because it takes the identity. It takes the identity of certain people away. It takes the focus. It takes the credit. It takes the heritage of certain people. That's why it matters. That is why it's written there. Not only in one book. It's written in so many books. Let's continue here. He added that globalizing has exerted a religious spell. That means you only think one side, you think one side. What you have been taught, that's it. And anyone come and educate you, you don't want to get it. You will never get it. What it gave you, it gave you one mindset. That's religion. That's what religions do. It gave you one mindset to the extent you cannot even go to do your own research. That is what religions do. Do not do your own research. What it gave you, that's it. It gave you a religious pull over past leaders, causing them to ignore their own national interest. Is that lie? Is that lie? African leaders do ignore their own national interest. That is why African leaders today hate Abraham Traore. Because they have that religious spell of Western influence over them. Let's continue here. Daniel Trump went as far as saying, but as far as America is concerned, he said, those days are over. Those days of exploitation are over. Those days of lying to African nation and African people are over. Those days of taking advantage of people's resources are over. Those days of sponsoring war are over. Those days of sponsoring proxy war are over. You see why they don't want him? Sending billions of dollars and sending it to war instead of putting it in the American economy, your hospital, your schools, your industry are over. You see why they don't want him? You see why they don't want him? Let's take this out. He's not a globalist. He's a nationalist. So did you see that, right? Why they don't want him? So you see it clear. But it made him to look the bad man. Now, this is not a message in favor of Trump at the end of the day, in the first place. Let me make that clear. The message is the truth about we African. So it's not about, oh, I run a Trump campaign, I'm speaking on informed Trump. No, that's not what it's for. At the end of the day, who win you? Who not win you? Let's see something here again. Let's see another pool here. Okay, let's see this pool. Let's see something here. Look at this right here. Look at this pool, right? This pool just came out before the veteran. Look at this pool here. Look at this right here. November presidential election, May 2024, right? Look at this. Biden and Trump lock in tight race. Nationally, West and Stein, not RFK, right? Let's see something here. All right. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are closely matched in November presidential election among registered voters nationally, including those who are undecided yet leaning towards a candidate. However, Trump has closed the gap. Trump has closed the gap against Biden among those who says they definitely plan to vote in November in a multi-candidate fight that include Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Kanye West, and Joe Stein. Trump now edge Biden, Stein, and West make the difference, pulling support from Biden and not Trump, right? Now, see right here. You see the chart? It's just 2% different. You see here. So the 2% are the undecided. So you see the race. So before November, right, election days, this 48%, it could triple. It could triple. Because imagine, this is the ruling party. This is Joe Biden, currently the government, right? And this man is not in office. He got 48%. This man in office, he got 50%. That alone to tell you, right? More people favor Donald Trump. Because the possibility is that before November 11, people here, right, they might drop here. And the 2% right here, undecided, might come here. Because there is no way the 2% undecided. What made them undecided? So that means they already lost interest in Biden. That's why they are undecided. They already lost interest in the current government. That's why they are undecided. That could fall right here. Now, let's read a few lines here. 2 points separate. Biden 50% and Trump 48%. Among registered voters nationally in a presidential contest. Support for Biden and Trump is unchanged and earlier made. Among those who says they will definitely vote Biden received 50% and Trump received 49%. So the race is tight, right? Let's continue. Trump received 49% for Trump. Biden 52% was previously plus 5 percentage point against Trump, 47% among these voters or these voters. Now, Trump 54% lead, Biden 42% among independent. Listen to this. That's why I said even this undecided might come here to this 48. And here, some people here might still overlap here. So it's tough. It's hard for Biden. So you see, so what happened here is, so all these pool, it just came out and then it came out before the veteran. So they see all these things in order to get this undecided voter, right, to vote, is to pull them over here. And then this 48%, in order to reduce it, is to pull him, to make him guilty. And then some of these 48% will pull over here. Let's continue. Let's continue reading here and see what we're talking about here. Now, Trump 54%. lead Biden for the 2% and more independent voters. Independent voter. So some of these independent voter, the trick here is some of these voter, after what just happened, some of these voter may come here. That's what they did it for. After the poll, because they saw the poll is not in Democrat favor. It's not in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris favor. That is why they rush with that count. Because they have to do everything possible to make sure there's nationality out and a globalist in, stay in. Let's continue here. Now, Trump 54% lead Biden for the 2% and more independent voter. However, Biden 49% and Trump 47% are closely matched among those who have unfavorable opinion of both candidates. Now, listen to this. All right? Let me explain that again. Now, where we are. Okay. Okay. So we're right here, right? So Trump 54% and lead Biden for the 2% and more independent voter. However, Biden 49 and Trump 47 are closely matched among those who have unfavorable. I mean, they do not favor, they are still deciding. They are not sure whether to go for Trump, whether to go for Biden. But the reality here is, it's actually in Trump's favor because this is the current government. All right, this is the current government. So if there's a more percentage, right, you are the current government. You have 49%. People who are still doubting. You the government, you have 49%. And then the mayor who is not the president have 47%. So he actually stands a better chance just because he have 47% and Biden have 49%. That does not mean Biden stand a good chance. Trump actually stand a good chance because Trump is not the president. Biden is the president here, 49. But 49% of people do not trust him. 49% of people are still doubting him. Some of these people will come over to the 47%. So Trump actually stands a good chance. Now, let's continue here. Trump 44% urge Biden 40% among registered voters. So voters who are registered. So this is what Trump actually standing a better chance as you see the percentage and as I explain it and you see how it's going. Okay, so these are the registered voters. And among the registered voters, those who those who have already registered early, that's what they're trying to say, right? Trump have 44% edge over Biden, 40% among registered voters in a multi-candidate fight. Kennedy has a support of 8% to 3% of Stain and 2% of West. Earlier this month, Biden had 42% and Trump had 42%. We're tied, with Kennedy receiving 11% and Stain gathering 2% and West gathering 2%. So everything here is actually in Trump's favor, as you see going on here. So now you see why his guilty verdict is politically motivated. Let's continue here. Now, Kennedy pulled support immediately from both Biden and Trump. However, among Biden supporters from a Biden Trump match up, still received 5%. That means from Trump supporter and Biden supporter, that means still got people from Biden and got people from or Trump that match up to him. Now, what's going to happen here is, so election days, right? Some of these people, they know that their candidate are not going to win, right? So the Trump supporter that went to Sting, they will go right back to Trump. Now, it's possible again, the Biden supporter, all right, may go back to him. But again, when we look at the percentage and the statistics that we're seeing here, right, being already in power, being the government, right, there's no way you should even lose support to Sting. So, which other way Trump still stand a better chance? As I'm breaking it down to you. Let's continue here. Now, Canada pulls support evenly from both Biden and Trump. However, among Biden supporter from a Biden-Trump matchup, Sting received 5% and West received 4%. In this multi-candidate contest, Sting and West do not pull any memorable support from President Trump. So that means their support might go to Biden, not Trump. All right, the 4% here, this 4%. Now, let's see here. More registered voters nationally, 90% say plan to vote for president in November. Now, they did not say which one to vote for, the 90%, but they plan to vote for president in November. So it could either go in Biden's favor or it go in Trump's favor. Now, looking at all these percentages as we are breaking it down here, right? Not to be biased, that's why I read it and break it down, right? It might go in Trump's favor. Looking at all the breaking down we did here and all the percentage that we have done here, it might go in Trump's favor. So most register, because look right here. The reason why it might go in Trump's favor, look here. Trump 44% and Biden 40% among registered voters. Now, let's go here. Most registered voters nationally, 90% say they plan to vote for president in November. 7% say they will vote but will skip the line for president. That means they will vote in like senators, representatives, on a local level, right? But they will not stay in line. They will not vote for the presidential election. They will not vote for president. That is 7%. All right. So Trump still stands a good chance from the 90% here. Okay. Now, let's read again. 3% are not likely to vote. Now, 3% are not likely to vote. That means they are uncertain. They fall among the undecided right here. They fall among the undecided. They are likely. They might vote. They may not vote. So maybe on final day of election, all of that 3%, let's just say 2% may change their mind to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to vote. But now it is undecided who they might vote for. We don't know. So if they decide to vote, it might either go Trump or it might either go Biden. Or on that day, the 3% might decide and say, we are not voting. Again, still in Trump's favor. Let's continue. Biden supporter, 7% are slightly more likely than Trump supporter, 5%. All right? Biden supporter, 7%, are slightly more likely than Trump supporter, 5%, to say they will skip the presidential election, the presidential line. Again, it is bad for Biden. So 7% of Biden, 7% of Biden supporter or voter are saying they might not vote for president. Are more likely to skip the presidential line. 7% of Biden, 5% of Trump say they might likely skip. So they are also uncertain. Again, the percentage here is high. So Trump is less, Biden is high. Trump again is still in the lead, in the pool, according to the pool here, according to the statistics we read it here. So it's still in Trump's favor. It's bad for Biden being the current government. So that is why they have to do this, to put a verdict on or guilty on Trump in order to reduce the pool, in order to reduce the support. Now, all these people who are unlikely here, the trick here is to pull these people back to the Democrat. The point here is the 7% should reduce from 7 either to 2%. And then the 5% here for Trump should increase from 5% to 10 or 15%. That's why they say he's guilty. It's a political trick. Let's continue here. Now, non-white voter, 11% are more than twice as likely as white voter, 5%, to pass on voting for president, Now, again, they did not mention whether Trump or Biden, but it could be any of them. So what happened here is non-white, 11% are saying non-white. That means it could be black, Mexican, or Puerto Rican, or whatsoever, right? 11% are saying they will pass on, they will not vote for president. Now, white, on the other hand, 5% are saying they will not vote for president. Now, you know where it's going now? You know who mostly support the Democrat, and you know who mostly support the Republican. So, from my thought, from my understanding, and what I know, the 11% here are Democrat supporters who are passing on. The 5% here are Republican supporters who are passing on. Again, what is telling on here is still in Trump's favor. So, it could even be possible on the day of voting, then 11% of non-white might turn to Trump and say, you know what, I'm going to vote for Trump. Because the reason why they have 11% that are skipping the presidency, okay, from voting for president, that again go here. They feel dissatisfied that Biden did not do anything for them. I'm not going to go into detail with that. We know, right? So Trump stay in the lead. It is necessary to find him guilty, to make him look ugly, to drag most of these supporters away from him. Now, let's continue here. Let's continue here. So, let me read that. Let me connect that. Non-white voters, 11%, are more likely than, 11% of non-white voters are more twice likely as white voters to pass on voting for president. Voters under the age of 45, 12% are 3 times as likely as older voter. 4% do the same. So, let's take this out. All right. So, from that pool, from what we saw, Trump being a nationalist, not a globalist, and you see the perspective of the globalist, and then looking at the pool, and then looking at the video we watch, that is why this was politically motivated. That is why they do not want Trump to come in. Because I can tell you, the war in Ukraine will stop. Trump will say, look, let Russia and Ukraine take care of their problem. Let Russia and Ukraine take care of their problem. And that is what he said in our United Nations speech. Let nations take care of their own problem. And he said, in my own country, this is over. Interfering in other people's affairs, taking advantage of other people is over. Let me let them know it's over. So if Trump becomes president, the war in Ukraine and Russia it ends. The conflict between Taiwan and Russia, Trump will not spend money there. Trump will not take billions of dollars to send it to Ukraine. As a nationalist, he will spend billions of dollars in his country. So you see what's going on here. This is WCC. Now you go and do your own judgment. This is what we got to present to you. Let's continue to the next topic. Let's go to the former French minister. All right. Let's go there, what he said about Africa. Let's see something here. And there's a reason why, by the way, I want to talk about that topic, because there is something that I saw and I want to bring it out. Now, let's see here. Okay, so this is the former French minister, or how they call it, economic minister, the former French economic minister. All right, this is him right here, Thierry Breton. All right, so he said it is the invisibility of Emmanuel Macron that opened the eyes of Africans. In other words, he's trying to say, it is the ignorance of Macron that opened African eyes, because Macron does not know how to play the game to lie to Africans. Macron does not know how to play the game for Africans to remain asleep. It is his naiveness that have made African eyes to open. In other words, that's what he's saying. That is why Donald Trump said there is no globalist. Globalism does not work. It's a lie. Let's continue here. This is the evil man right here, this devil. Let's continue here. Former French economic minister Thierry Breton said, it is the imbecility of Emmanuel Macron that opened the eyes of Africans. It is the ignorance of Macron that opened the eyes of Africans. That's what he's trying to say here. He went as far as saying, one thing is sure, if France loses its colony, our children, their children, okay, European, Western, right? Our children and grandchildren will go to Africa to search for their livelihood. Immigration will change direction. Macron need to go. If not, France will suffer. Europe need to unite to fight this new African visions. Let's go to the so-called African leaders again. Who think there is globalist? Who think the world is a global village? This goes to them. Now, we're going to come back to this article. There's a reason I brought this article. We're going to come back to it, right? Now, this is the French interpretation. What we read out here, right? What we read out here, this is the French interpretation. Now, there's a reason, okay? I took this particular article, or I took this particular page, right? Now, what this idiot said here in French, that is what being interpreted here, okay? That is what a writer interpreted here in English. And then the French version is here, and the English version is up here. Now, I don't speak French. I don't read French, so I don't know what is here, okay? But I believe what is here, that is what being here in English. The English version and the French version, okay? Because I can see something, I can see change here, okay? And I can see Macron, and I can see Europe. Like, so if you look at each line by line here, okay, line by line here, all right, you see Macron here. And then when you read, you see Macron on here, right? Then under Macron, you see Europe under Macron. And then you see Europe under here. Oh, sorry. And then you see Europe under Macron here. Now, under Europe, let's see right here. Under Europe, you see F, the head of the pundits, for the other will abandon the vision. That means the Western vision to keep exploiting and polluting and looting Africa, that vision will spoil because they will split. Now, you see that under there, right? And that is right under Europe, right? So, let's see here. So, you see that right here, under here. And then under there, you see Africa, which is talking about Africa, right? Let's see here. You see right here? Africa, it says Africa does not have history. So, Africa can't manage the world. Right under there. And that is why under here. You see here? Africa. Right here. That is why they put right here in French. Now, there's a reason I brought this. And you have seen it, right? Now, let me take this out here. That is to say, this French foreign economy minister, he actually made that statement about Africa. He made this statement that it is the instability of Emmanuel Macron that opened the eyes of Africans. One thing is sure, if France loses its colonies, so they still see Africa as how they call it their colony, right? Our children, their children and grandchildren will go to Africa to search for a livelihood. Immigration will change direction. Macron need to go. Macron need to go. If not, France will suffer. Europe need to unite to fight this new African vision. If one of the heads of the punches fall, the other will abandon the vision. Africa does not have history, so Africa cannot manage the world. And that is why I'm writing here. When you read it line by line, okay, you take it. That is why I'm writing here, right? Now, let's take this out. We will explain that in depth, but I don't want to waste time. So let's take this out here. Now, let's go to the next article that I want to bring out. Okay, let's go to the next article I want to bring out here. Let's see who then speak for Africa. Who? Let me see. I don't want to talk first. Let me see here. Okay, let me pull this out here. Now, folks, what we just read, and you saw it, I took it line by line, right? And you saw it clear. Now, look up here. You see Africa, check. Africa, check. You see it, right? In the far left, on my side is my left, right? It says Africa, check. Now, not everything you see about Africa, just because it carried the name Africa, means that it is being controlled by a black man or it is being controlled by Africa, just because it carried Africa. Africa, check. Now, look right here. It says, no, French, let's say a French EU Commissioner, Breton, did not criticize President Macron and Africa. Ignore false claim on social media and unreliable news site. You see that? Again, not everything you see Africa like this. Anybody see this Africa chat? Most people, they would think it is an African platform. It is controlled by Africans. It is African. No. So, what have been said about Europe, about that, how they call it, about this European Commissioner? What have been said about him? Another white dude came out to defend it and say no. Knowingly, what I just showed you from the first article, and bit by bit, okay, line by line, you saw it that it is true, it was said, and that's the interpretation, right? But he came out to say, no, that's not what he said. What people are saying about what he said was lie, right? Let's see right here. So he said here, quote, attributed, he said, quote, attributed to European Union Commissioner Thierry Breton criticizing the invisibility of France President Emmanuel Macron over his policy approach to Africa. I force. He said, I force. There is no evidence that Breton ever said these things. There is no evidence that Breton ever said these things. Again, he said there is no evidence, right? But in his defense, he never brought a video to prove that what this man said, this is what he said. He did not say Africa is dead, or Emmanuel Macron made this. In his defense, no video to prove what this man said that people are saying is not true. Again, who is this person that controls this platform? Not everything we see because it carry African name, we think it is, then we believe it. We want to know who is him. Now, he said, messages circulating on social media claim that Thierry Breton has criticized invisibility of French President Emmanuel Macron. Breton is the French commissioner to the European Union, where he served as commissioner for the internal market. Now, EU comprised of 27 member states. Who cares? What we want to see is the video of this man speaking that is different from what people are saying. Stop defending him, because we're not taking it. That is why I went beyond to do research to find out what this platform is from, who is behind this platform, and I will show it to you people. Now, he said the EU comprises 27 member states and is dedicated to management of common economic, social, and security policies. Now, he said the message written in French and English was also published in an article on the... Now, you see right here, let me read this. When I read this, he said the message written in French and in English was also published in an article on the notoriously unreliable Zambian Observer website. So you see, in defending Europe, right, he's calling a reliable source of Africa a notorious, unreliable Zambian Observer website. So now, the European Observer website is the reliable one. So, today's idiots, I'm going to show him, we're going to show you, you're going to see who this person is. But today's idiots, when Western media are reporting about Africa, for example, Burkina Faso recently, have you gone to debunk them to call them notorious, unreliable Western media, or notorious, unreliable BBC, or notorious, unreliable CNN? Have you done that? Or notorious, unreliable France 24? Have you done that? So even as in his defense, to defend Europe, he's calling African media notorious. So that means any report, in fact, so he's saying we should believe his report. He's calling African media notorious or reliable. But he's telling us to believe what he wrote. He's telling Africans to believe on what he wrote. But he's calling African media who speak for African interests notorious, unreliable. Zambia Observer website. He said a version of the message was also to Africa Check Visa website. So a version of the message. Now he's telling us to go check on the website that they roll it there. We should go check to make reference, but we should not go on an African uncontrolled media or platform or website to check there. And he's calling us notorious, unreliable. But we should believe the garbage he's writing. Folks, do you see why we should not keep taking how they call it information about Africa from non-Africans or non-African media? So when I saw this, I began to ask myself, then what is this Africa Check? He's checking, right? So why were you on a check statement or interpretation by Africans, but you do not check statement from Europe and America or from France or from Western media about Africa? But African people say this is what Europeans say, and you come to check it. Have you checked the lies that have been told about some of our African leaders, visionary leaders? Have you checked it to say France 24 lie, CNN lie, BBC lie, NBC lie? Have you checked it? So when I saw this, folks, it baffled me. I have to go check and check and check and check what this Africa Check for. Who control it? Who is the funder? And I was able to find it. So he went to defend. Britain also supposedly said Africa does not have history. He's saying that lie. He did not say that. Now, if he never said it, what we want to see is the video. If you want to defend, you come in on a defend. Bring the video of this man. But again, you can't be on this man defend, and then you call in African platform notorious, unreliable. So let's see what Africa Check is and who is behind this Africa Check. Now, the only thing they can check, they go and check any interpretation about Africa. Then they say that lie. But they do not check the lies that Europe and America, the West mainstream media talk about Africa and our braver African leaders. They don't check it. Folks, we have to be on our alert. That is what Nkrumah said, do not sleep on a neo-colonialist or neither the colonialist. Because when it comes to Africa, they are not asleep. Let's see this way. Let's see who this idiot is. Let's see who the idiot is. Let's see here. Let's see who this idiot is, this Africa Check. This is the idiots. This Africa Check. This is the founder of the Africa Check. This is the idiots. This is the person who is defending Europe and then calling us notorious. This is the idiots. You came in defense and then you calling someone notorious or reliable. So who is reliable? We should believe you? No, Africa Check is notorious. Africa Check is the unreliable Western media. Africa Check is the unreliable mainstream media. Africa Check is the notorious. This is the idiot's name, Peter Gonlefi Jones. He called himself a researcher, a consultant, figuring out misinformation Look at this. A researcher, a consultant, figuring out misinformation, disinformation. Now, have you ever spoken about the misinformation that have been told about Africa by Western media, by mainstream media, by CNN, BBC? Have you come out to do that? Information gave me about Africa. Have you come out to do that? You idiots. He called himself researcher and consultant. Talking about he's yet to figure out misinformation, disinformation. How biased can you be? How can you be even figure out disinformation or misinformation, and then you call in someone notorious, unreliable? What make you think that you are not notorious? What make you think that you are not, you are reliable? What make you think that you are reliable? What make you think that we should believe in what you're saying? That alone, to even put that in your paper, that the Zambia Observer website is notorious, is unreliable. That in itself, we believe it. That what they put there, that you disagree with was said. And what you are saying here, we disagree with you. Being so disrespectful. What's wrong with these people? He's saying here, this one that he do now, false and misleading information can run live. Oh, so it is today that you know that false and misleading information can run live. Wasn't the same misleading information that Europe and America did, that they fought so hard 5 times, they tried to assassinate Kwame Nkrumah? Wasn't the same misleading information that the United States went and killed Gaddafi? Did you come out to say anything? Say you want to find information to disseminate information or misinformation? Did you come out to talk about it? Wasn't the same misinformation that killed Gaddafi? Wasn't the same misinformation that killed Thomas Sankara, Patrick Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral? And the list goes on. Isn't the same misinformation that are removing African leaders who are not in favor of Western policy? Have you come out to talk about that? Idiots. You can't talk about false and misleading information can run live. Have you talked about what is happening in Palestine? Isn't it the same misleading information that mainstream media gave, CNN, BBC? What they say Israel had the right to defend itself? Isn't the same misinformation? Instead of saying Israel is fighting Palestine, then they say Israel is fighting Hamas. To make it seem that Israel is fighting a terrorist group. Why can't you go face it? Isn't the same misinformation they're giving to the people? What led to this October 11 retaliation from Palestine or from Gaza to Israel? What led to it? But they came to misinform the people. Oh, Palestine or Gaza retaliate. Of where killed these people. But what led to it? Have you come out to tell the world that decades upon decades, Israel been killing the people and shooting the people? So the people have no choice, but the only way it can bring their plight or their issue to the world attention is to retaliate? Have you come out to bring the real information to tell the world that, you know what? Palestine is not the way the mainstream media bring it or give it to you people. Palestine is not a boogeyman. Palestine or Gaza, they are not the evil people. Have you come out to say it? Idiots. And you can't say false information and misleading information can run live. That's the same misleading information killing people in Palestine and Gaza today. Have you spoken about it? But let's continue. He said it can also have no limited effect. How can we know what effect misinformation may have? How do we know what work as a response and protect the right of free speech? It even making me mad when I'm reading these things. He say, after more than 20 years in a journalist around the world for AFP, a news agency, I have focused for a decade on trying to understand misinformation, its effects, and the best way of society to respond. In 2012, he left the APF. Now, in 2022, while still at APF, I founded Africa Check, the first independent fact-checking organization in Africa. Since 2016, I have been a member of the advisory board of the International Fact-Checking Network, IFCN, and developed the IFCN Code of Principle, followed today by almost 100 organizations worldwide. But look here, in 2019, I joined the University of Westminster as a senior visiting researcher and co-director of a course funded by the Children Foundation on Trust and Freedom of the Media in the UK and Africa. So that is the idiot that founded Africa Check. So to make African, whenever African come out, okay, with a view of what the war of Europe or the other side or the imperialists have said, right? To awaken Africa, they come out on the other side to protect Europe and America or the West. And that's what exactly he did. So now we know what Africa Check is, who is behind it, and what it stands for. Someone said something about Africa. And African media, an African platform came out to say, this is what Macron said. I mean, this is what this person said. And then you came out in defense, calling that media or that platform notorious, unreliable. So we should believe you. Calling another African platform notorious, calling another African platform unreliable. When we know mainstream media is the notorious media, is the notorious unreliable platform. When it comes to discussing African interests or African problem, mainstream media, along with Africa Check, they are notorious. Let's see something here. We're about to close, folks.
The programs that I attended, all of the education that I had, college, public, and otherwise, nobody ever told me that I was an African woman. Nobody ever told me what the history of African people were. Nobody ever told me that America is business, and without business, you will have nothing and be nothing. And nobody ever told me how to organize business so that I would be able to develop institutions in my own community. So now the sincerity of all of the programs and all of the education has to be questioned, indicted, and convicted, because the bottom line is that America is not and has never tried to produce African adults who are functional, self-sufficient, who understand their politics, their economics, and their relationship to the world politics and the world economics.
Now, that is why Western media is notorious, because they have lied to us. They have never been there to produce an agenda that will empower Africans, okay, that will tell African history, that will tell African who they are, but rather lie to us, keep us in captivity. That is why mainstream media, they are notorious. That is why Africa Check is notorious. That is why the man who is called Peter and a good life of good feet John is also notorious. He is notorious. Peter Gule Fee John is notorious. Peter Gule Fee John is unreliable. And these mainstream media, they are unreliable because they are not there to empower Africans. For Eastern Africa want to wake up, rise up, know the information, then they come out to say Africa is this, Africa is that, Africa is that. Africa Check. We know you now. We know who you are. We know what you stand for. You idiots. Have you gone to DRC Congo? Oh, matter of fact, let me show it. Let me show it. You Africa Check. Have you gone to check and put America or Europe in their places? Or what happened in DRC Congo? Africa Check. Nonsense.
tokoli na diaspora tokoli libanda po banyanga kata mo groupe wa tuma la kanuke otali bana basola nde bazo vivre eza normal te otali façon de vivre eza normal te. Felix, you out. Felix, dégage, you out.
U.S. Ambassador to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Lucy Tamlin, confirmed the involvement of American citizens in the failed coup. This acknowledgement by a senior U.S. diplomat highlights the gravity of the situation and suggests potential diplomatic repercussions. The involvement of American nationals in such a high-stakes political incident raises questions about their motivations and the extent of their involvement.
So, Africa Check. Have you called the American embassy or have you called the United States government and tell them their citizens were involved in a coup to go and assassinate an African leaders? Have you done that? Africa Check. Because you are African, you are African and you are checking African things, right? And that's why they call you Africa Check. Have you gone and checked it and question the United States government? What is your citizen doing in DRC Congo carrying on coup? Have you gone and checked it? Africa Check. Notorious you are. I wish those people, they should rot in jail. Africa Check. Have you gone and checked it? Have you asked the United States government, what is your citizen doing in DRC Congo carrying on coup? What is your citizen doing there? Have you checked it? Africa Check.
The residence of former Speaker of the National Assembly and current Deputy Prime Minister of Economy, Vital Kamerhe. Both were stopped by his guards. Kamerhe's spokesman, Michel Moto Muhima, said on social media. The army said Congolese and foreign fighters were involved in the coup, which was reportedly thwarted early Sunday.
Local media had identified the armed men as Congolese soldiers, but later reported that they were linked to self-exiled opposition figure Christian Malanga, who posted a video on Facebook threatening President Felix Tshisekedi. Sylvain Ekenge, the Democratic Republic of Congo Army spokesperson, said several suspects have been detained and the situation is now under control. It's important to know exactly is going on is foreign affairs and political analyst. We are joined by Dr. David Masanga. Good morning, doctor. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning across the continent of Africa. Thank you very much for inviting me very early in the morning, and I'm ready to go.
All right. Doctor, talk to us about what you think is going on here. The reports have it that these are not locals, that the men who have carried out these attacks are not locals, and that they have foreign passports, and something links them to the foreign world. So how is it exactly that these people who are not locals have been able to perpetrate this attack here, attack in the DRC?
Thank you very much. First of all, the Democratic Republic of Congo is torn in two pieces. It is not Congo. It's not the Congo that we knew. In the East, there is a fight, and that you can't rule out foreign mercenaries. Russians are there. The CIA mercenaries are there. All Al-Qaeda is there. There are so many factions within the Congo. 204 rebel groups, outfits in DRC Congo. I and Joe, we have been talking about this conflict for a long time. And it is not surprising that you find foreigners penetrating into the high security end of DRC Congo. I have been to Kinshasa several times, and I know what that area is. For even a taxi or Uber to pass around, you need quite a lot of identities. So how did they find their way into that palatial place which is well guarded? Look at what they have done in Libya, Joe. They have made Libya ungovernable. But illicit trade is going on. Oil of Libya is being taken to France. We have to speak up as Africans. I'm not a coward on this continent at all. If I'm to go, I will join the others. But I must speak for the generation that is coming. So many bad things are happening all the way from the West African coast into now. Why is it that it's French territories? Can you imagine? French territories, former French territories. We have more problems than the English-speaking territories. Something is wrong. We must change the policy of the Western Hemisphere. 5 members of the United Nations Security Council are quarreling. What do you expect about 200 members of UN? If 5 permanent members, 3 against 2, are fighting in the Security Council, and they are the ones who pretend to be guarding our peace internationally. The situation everywhere around that border, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Cameroon, it is just a matter of time, my brother. I'm telling you, it is just a matter of time. More of these mercenaries are going to spring up, go to presidential palace, shoot down the president, and they take over power. Because people want to grab the resources that they have. Congo will never have peace.
So now that you've mentioned this, I mean, we've seen this happen in Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali. This is not the first time that we're seeing this happen. The military overthrew President Mohamed Bazoum in July 2023. We saw in Burkina Faso, the country witnessed 2 coups in 2022. The first occurred in January when the president ousted President Kabore. And the second coup happened in September, led by Ibrahim Traore. Now, we've seen this happen over and over again. And from what you're saying, we should expect to see more coups. What is the way out?
The way out is, first, to stand up to strengthen the African Union. I've been crying single-handedly in Africa about the management of African Union by Dr. Mahamat Faki. Very corrupt. He sold our organization to France. He has sold it. It is no longer, my sister and Joe, don't talk about AU. AU is a photo organization where these presidents, your president, President Tinubu, goes to wear his clothes and stand there, take photograph. There is nothing coming out of there. The AU we had was the AU when Muammar Gaddafi was there, was the AU when Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Nyerere.
All right, we gotta go. But as you are saying it, what is American citizens doing in DRC Congo in coup? An American citizen with American passport, American identity. Not just citizen, but he was caught. They were not he, but they were caught with American passport. Who went to carry a coup And then even the African guy that was holding the army doing this, he's how they call it, he's an American trained. The first video we saw with the army guy and stuff, he's an American trained. Then along with those Americans that was caught, Africa check, have a report on it to ask the American government what were their citizens doing in DRC Congo? Stupid Africa check, notorious Africa check, unreliable Africa check. Have you checked it? A white guy go and sit in Africa and open a platform called Africa Check to monitor Africans' activities, and then in there call African notorious, call African media notorious, call African media unreliable. So should we believe the Western media? Should we believe your media? Should we believe your platform? Call it African platform notorious. Just like your leader, just like Washington DC calling African leaders terrorists. That's what you did in your report, trying to defend Europe, calling African media notorious. That's what you did. Well, Washington DC called African leaders who fought for Africa terrorists. That's what you just did. Now you have an American being caught in DRC Congo trying to overthrow a president. Have you gone there to check it, to do your Africa check? Have you gone there to do your Africa check? Have you asked the American government what were your citizens doing in DRC Congo to carry war, to carry coup? Have you asked? Africa check. Have you asked? Those guys that were caught, for me, I wanted to, their hair should be beheaded. Cut their head off. Because you keep them in jail, like, look, they might get free one day. They might get free. Because if it happens that maybe sometime in the near future, another president come in, another puppet come in, they might free them. The day American puppet come in, they might free them. So it don't mean their hair should be beheaded. Because they went to kill a president, they went to kill. If you go kill and you don't kill, they will kill you. If you go kill and you don't kill the person that you want to go kill, and the person caught you, they kill you. On a war front, if you don't kill, they kill you. Period as that. So if you carry a sword to go kill and they take that sword from you, what will happen? They will kill you. Your own sword will be used to kill you. So their hair should be beheaded. Period. There's no two-way street about that to come and say, oh, Frank, did you say they will kill them? No, they should kill them because they went to kill and they got caught. So they should be killed. There's no trial in that to go innocent and go to waste money and then go put it in jail for what? Because the next puppet leader that may come, they will free them. And then they can't sit down right by in America with their family and eat bread and burger and hamburger and things and enjoy themselves. Who sent them there? African fact check or Africa fact check. Now go do your fact check. Who sent those Americans in DRC Congo? You love Africa? Colonial idiot. Folks, we've been here since 1 p.m. and now it's 3 going to 4:30. Let's say 3:30. Thank you for tuning in. Share the live, subscribe, ask others to subscribe. Before the year end, we want to target another subscriber. We can do this. We are community, we are building. We don't want people to just come and watch and then go. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with subscribing. They're not going to put you in jail for that. FBI is not going to come for you by subscribing to it. So don't just listen. Share. This is where you come and get the truth. All right? This is where true liberation or true freedom is. This is where we do research and come and show you. We don't do opinion or sugar coat anything. All right? So even, I can tell you, they said they are watching, the imperialists, they are watching, the globalists, they are watching. So they see what we say here is not of opinion. We do the research and come and show it here. So they themselves, they are also watching. Other than that, thank you for tuning in and thank you for staying. And then we will see you Saturday. We couldn't do the Saturday show because in Nkrumah, I had to call it. I will call him Nkrumah, but anyway, that's it. Nkrumah, I will call him Nkrumah. Nkrumah, he's out of state, doing other political PE work. And then Natasha, too, our sister, she's also doing other PE work. So we could not, they did not have the time for us to be here on Saturday, but we might be here on, this coming Saturday. So, I thought it was why to come on today to present because we got to keep the information coming and the information going. So, like Nkrumah said, forward ever, and backward never. Forward ever and backward never. Let us continue going. So, thank you for tuning in. I will see you all Saturday and also on the Sunday show. Peace.